There are moments when royal watching stops being a pastime and starts feeling like a live sport. The kind where one small detail suddenly becomes the entire match. And this week's unexpected arena, not a palace, not a press conference, but a softly lit exhibition hall in Las Vegas. Yes, Las Vegas, because of course it is. If there's anywhere a quiet museum display can turn into a full-blown cultural debate overnight, it's the city built on spectacle. Now, here's the moment that set everything off. Visitors walking through an exhibit centered around Princess Diana and the modern monarchy paused at a wall titled Royal Brides. Elegant, polished, beautifully curated, the kind of display that whispers importance rather than shouting for attention. And then came that familiar pause, the head tilt, the narrowed eyes, the mental checklist. Diana? Present. Sarah Ferguson? Present. Catherine, Princess of Wales? Prominently so. Sophie, Duchess of Edinburgh? Included. And then the gap people felt rather than saw. No Meghan Markle. And just like that, the game began. Because if you spend any time at all in the world of royal commentary, and if you're here on the Crown Talk UK, I suspect you have, you'll know that nothing ignites discussion quite like an absence. Not a scandal, not even a statement, an absence. It's the quietest spark and somehow the most powerful. Within hours, what should have been a simple curatorial decision transformed into a full-blown debate. Was it intentional? Was it symbolic? Was it, dare I say, a subtle form of shade? Or just Vegas doing what Vegas does, leaning into spectacle while leaving just enough unsaid to keep people talking? Now, before we all sprint headfirst into conspiracy territory, because the internet, bless it, does love a good sprint, it's worth slowing the pace for a moment. Exhibitions are not random assortments of names and gowns. They are narratives, carefully constructed, often constrained by practical realities like available artifacts, licensing agreements, and the visual flow of the space. Not every figure fits neatly into every story being told. And yet, knowing that doesn't stop the intrigue, does it? Because what makes this particular omission fascinating isn't just the decision itself, but the context surrounding it. Elsewhere in the exhibition, there is reportedly a smaller section dedicated to Prince Harry and Meghan, present but not central, included but not elevated. And in the world of royal optics, positioning is everything. If you're enjoying this breakdown so far, do tap that like button and subscribe to the Crown Talk UK. Not because I'll dramatically demand it, but because, frankly, where else are we analyzing museum wall placements like it's a championship final? Now, let's talk about reaction, because that's where this story truly comes alive. The internet, as always, did not disappoint. Some responses were lighthearted, almost playful, treating the omission like a curious footnote. Others, however, went full theatrical, questioning legitimacy, revisiting old narratives, even dusting off long-standing criticisms of Meghan's place within the royal story. And then there were the comments that leaned into pure satire, the kind that makes you exhale sharply through your nose and think, well, that escalated quickly. But beneath the noise, there's a deeper layer worth examining. This isn't just about one name missing from one wall. It's about how public memory is shaped. Exhibitions like this don't merely display history, they interpret it. They decide which moments feel iconic, which figures feel central, and which narratives take precedence. And whether intentionally or not, those decisions influence how audiences perceive the story of the monarchy. What's particularly interesting is how this ties back to Meghan Markle herself. From the moment she entered royal life, her presence disrupted the traditional rhythm of the institution. Modern, media-savvy, globally recognizable in a way few royal brides had been before her. And perhaps that's the paradox. When someone reshapes the narrative so dramatically, it becomes harder to fit them neatly into the existing framework. Meanwhile, the exhibition's emphasis elsewhere, particularly on figures like Catherine, Princess of Wales, adds another layer to the story. Reports of multiple gowns on display, a larger, dedicated section, a more visually dominant presence. Now, that could simply be down to available pieces or the curatorial direction, or if you're inclined toward a more dramatic reading, it could be interpreted as a reflection of where the current royal narrative feels most stable. And this is where I can't help but smile slightly, because it's all so predictable, not in a dismissive way, but in that knowing, almost affectionate sense. Royal commentary thrives on these moments. Give the public a missing name, a smaller display, a slightly uneven spotlight, and suddenly everyone becomes a cultural analyst, a historian, a strategist. But let's not overlook one important detail. By all accounts, the exhibition itself is genuinely impressive. The gowns, particularly those bold, eye-catching pieces in gold and red, deliver exactly what a visual display should. They stop you, they hold your attention, they create that quiet moment of awe. And in the end, that's what exhibitions are designed to do. So perhaps the real story here isn't whether Meghan was included on one specific wall. Perhaps it's how quickly a museum experience became a global conversation, how a single curatorial choice turned into a lens through which people examined identity, symbolism, and the ever-evolving narrative of the royal family. Because in this world, a wall is never just a wall. It's a statement waiting to be interpreted. And sometimes the loudest statement is the one that isn't there at all.